So it's officially 8:21, Saturday, the 5th of December.
The 12th.
Because my watch is the American way the dates are put. So the 5th of December, and we're back once again with a great episode. Yeah.
Why didn't you allow me to do that bit?
Oh, go for it.
You've already done it, so.
You can do it again.
Just move on.
What's done can always be undone.
Just move on, man. You should have
Fair enough.
Before you did it. It's too late now.
Yeah, they're trying to fucking admonish me, man.
All right, let's move on. All right.
You should have said.
Right. Okay, so
yeah,
I guess since you did the introduction, it's only right for me to do this bit.
Yes.
So today we're going to be discussing a very exciting topic. Well, I think it's exciting anyway, and I think in our lives, it'd be so much better if I understood as a human being how to interact with another person effectively. Yeah, and I think interpersonal relationships is very great in everything and anything that we do. But I think as human beings, we invest so much time and money in, a lot of like technology and a lot of things to see how they work. But I don't think there's been enough time and energy being put into the human condition and how we interact with one another. So I think this topic is going to be great. And today we're talking about transactional analysis.
Yes. Lovely stuff.
It's great, yeah. It's
lovely stuff.
Fantastic, yeah.
We've been reading it for the past 4 days, and it's really been one of those things that, we say paradigm shift in like our tag and on our header on YouTube, and this is really some paradigm shifting stuff, some theories about the way the mind works.
It is. Do you want to give them a brief sort of like synopsis of what transactional analysis is? Just a brief update. Then we're going to go into the different, just like in a nutshell, what is it? So
in a nutshell, transactional analysis is basically an idea about how we have a. It's hard to describe it without going into it. Let me. So we might as well just get started.
Yeah. Let me give them a nutshell stuff, a definition. Yeah, an oversimplified one.
Yeah.
So basically, is basically the how we interact with each other. And anytime we interact with one another, there's always a transaction, right? And I think this is more so to sort of like figure out what. Because it does say that within each individual there are 3 egos. So it's basically sort of to figure out which ego is like the most dominant when interacting with each other. Basically that sort of thing, and to understand human beings a lot better and how best to, I guess, communicate more effectively. So it's basically about that human transaction and interaction.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
If you say any more, we'll actually give away some of the bits.
Yeah.
So let's get straight into it.
Mm-hmm.
So So to begin with, it starts off with the research by Dr. Penfield, and basically this research from the top of my head, the research proves that the human brain is a high fidelity recorder, and everything that crosses our conscious awareness between the ages of 0 and 5, I think it's about 5 years old, we are able to record, and that plays a massive role in how we see the world and how we act going forward. So I think this research is basically to prove this building block, which is that our brains is a high fidelity recorder and remember everything that we pay conscious awareness to between the ages of 0 and 5. This is then the building block that goes on to help Eric Berne kind of lay down the networking of how transactional analysis works.
Yeah, there were some examples given. So I think there was an initial experiment that was being conducted by a chap called Dr. Penfield.
Yeah.
And I think this experiment was like groundbreaking for the whole concept of transactional analysis, because I think it was within this experiment that he was. So it basically was the brain probe experiment where he basically probed like a bunch of like participants by applying an electrode stimulation to their brain, and then they were able to remember stuff like things from the past. So then he said that it wasn't actually the thing that they were remembering as such, but I guess their interpretation of that this particular thing, right? Then he goes on to give an example of a woman walking past a cafe or a shop. She then hears a song. The song brings about kind of like a nostalgia type of feeling, but she can't really pinpoint what exactly
the feeling.
Yeah,
she can't pinpoint where she remembered it was a song, and she couldn't pinpoint where she remembered the song from, but she could relive the feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah, of how she felt whenever she heard that song.
Yeah.
And it was only after a certain amount of time of re-listening to that song that she remembered that that song was a song her mom used to play.
Yeah.
And her mom passed away when she was 3 or 2. And that's why that song brings back a lot of sad feelings for her.
Exactly.
And I think that is one of the one of the building blocks that he uses.
Yeah, and I think when we go on to explain, it makes so much sense. So there's a bit here. So I guess from that experiment, I think the finding was that the brain is a high fidelity recorder. However, we are blinded to the feelings that come, I guess, when we experience a kind of like an external stimulation. If the consciousness doesn't come into play. So if we're unable to distinguish why we feel sad, then we're sort of like, our feelings can kind of take control, and we're kind of blinded by that particular feeling.
Yeah.
But then within that experiment, when the woman was able to remember that it was when her mom, it was as a result of her mom, when she was playing that sort of like music, when she could sort of like put two and two together, she wasn't feeling as sad anymore.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think later on it'll make a lot more sense. Yeah,
definitely.
So I guess we can remember there can be an external stimulus can trigger certain emotions. However, if consciously we're not able to recall what is what the situation that resulted in that particular feeling at that time, then our feelings take over. But if we can sort of like put two and two together and actually consciously remember it, then we can distinguish, we can make more sense of our emotions and why they come to play, and I guess feel a lot less sad like this woman.
Yeah, definitely. So true, man. And and one other thing as well is that in the remembering process, he breaks it down into 2 parts: the reliving and recalling.
Yeah.
And we can relive a lot of the emotions, but we don't always recall the exact, what would the word you use? The exact photographic
and phonographic
data,
memories or data,
of that situation.
Of course, yeah. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting.
So that was a brief long breakdown, because it's quite
dense.
Because it is quite dense, and there's a lot of nuance and stuff that we've not touched, but generally that's what it's about, right?
Yeah, it's very important. Yeah, this bit. Yeah.
Yes, I'm talking to you. If you've watched this far in the video, go down there, hit like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment on what you think about what we said so far. If you disagree, if you agree, whatever it is, drop a comment down there. It helps us a lot. So go ahead and sort that out. Done it? Let's get back to the video.
Okay. Because I think within the book, if I can find the highlight.
What is it referring to?
So it was basically referring to the fact that as human beings, a lot of the time we may know what's morally right, but we just don't do it. Right.
I think I've got that quote up here.
And he basically talks about how it basically kind of like links it in with religion.
Yeah.
And he says that the reason why we don't do it is because of our egos.
Right.
our egos basically dominate and tells us, like, basically predicts our actions, basically.
So I think it was a story of there was a farmer. I think this is the story, right?
Yeah.
A farmer in the field, and a salesman went to sell him a new way of farming, which can help him optimize his yield. However, his response was, "Son, I don't farm half as good as I know how to." So I think that was and then he then went on to make a conclusion that we kind of know, how to optimize the things we do, but we don't. A lot of time we know the right thing to do, but we don't do them.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Is that
It wasn't that one, but I think that's a good enough example. If I can find that one somewhere, recollections in the book. So that man can aspire to achieve goodness is evident through all history. However, the goodness may be understood. Moses saw goodness supremely as justice. Plato essentially as wisdom, and Jesus centrally as love. Yet they all agree that virtue, however understood, was consistently undermined by something in human nature, which was at war with something else. But what were these somethings? And then it goes on to explain, about the egos and stuff. So yeah, it explains, like, they still similar to the example that you gave. So that, this, I guess we kind of, like, we're at war with something else, internally. And what is this something? This something is, I guess, our ego, within us as individuals. So I guess that's a nice segue into, I guess, the three sort of, like, the three egos.
The three egos,
as individuals.
Yeah, nice. So I think this is the crux of transactional analysis, and the kind of like what it's all about. So the three egos basically are adults, parents, adult, and child. Parent, I think I've got something here which kind of... So the parent is a huge collection of recordings in the brain of unquestioned or imposed external events perceived by a person in his early years, a period which we have designated roughly as the first 5 years of life. So I read it one more time. The parent is a huge collection of recordings in the brain of unquestioned or imposed external events perceived by a person in his early years. So these are all the things that basically people in your surroundings, most of the time your parents, the kind of things that they impose on you, or the things that they tell you about through the early years of your life, between the ages of 0 to 5. So the parent consists of all these archaic teachings from the external event. Yeah. And then there's the child, which is the feelings which were being recorded simultaneously, as you were recording things that happen in the external event.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a simultaneous recording going on, the external and the internal feelings. And the external is the parent, the internal is the child. And these are all the emotions. So when that lady walked past the shop and heard the music, she was tapping into the child, because she could feel and relive those feelings, but she couldn't recall the teachings or the external event. Yeah. So I guess in that situation, she was reliving those
feelings as a child that had been recorded. Yeah. As a parent, so the parent recorded something she was feeling. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's very essential. And then I guess we move on to the there was a quote somewhere, I can't remember, something to do with I think there was a quote somewhere in the book where it said that as kids, something about the undisputed information that comes from authorities information that comes from authorities are basically undisputed and unchallenged. Yeah. I don't know why I said that. It's just random anyway. But yeah. So I guess that's the parent and then the child. Yeah. And then I guess the adult is basically the emancipation of an individual as such. Yeah. So the adult basically appraises the information that is being recorded in the parent and the feeling that is being triggered by this internal sort of like the feeling that's being triggered internally.
Yeah.
So the adult basically appraises these two things.
These two things, yeah.
Yeah.
So the adult kind of is the one, as you grow up and as you kind of go through life, the adult is the one that analyzes the teachings that has been recorded and validates them or discards of them if it's not needed.
Yeah.
I think an example it gave was of a lady who her husband was pestering her, "Yo, darling, we need to get a garbage disposal unit."
Yeah.
But then she was against it for so long, and she couldn't quite understand why. He couldn't understand why it's a no-brainer. Why don't you want to get garbage disposal unit? But then on questioning her, he then found out that as a kid, they had pigs in the back or in the garden or whatever, that they used to feed the leftovers of food and the waste that they made. They even washed their dishes with water and no soap so they could feed the pigs the nutrition from the dirty dishwater.
Yeah.
Sounds nasty. But basically, so that nutrition could then go into the pig, and then at Christmas they'd kill the pig and eat the pig.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say that was stored in the parents,
Yeah.
because those were the external events around that time, and the feeling of not wasting food was stored in a child. But then she didn't understand, and like you said, she brought a consciousness to it in the adult, and then she validated those things, and then she ended up getting the garbage disposal unit.
Of course.
So I guess the point is that we all have recordings from when we were young that we store and that decide how we act in our day to day.
Yeah, so I guess from that, I guess the recordings of the parents is baggage, but not necessarily negative. It's things that have been recorded as a child. Within that particular context, it didn't make sense to her. It doesn't make sense to keep. It didn't make sense to keep all the garbage, because they didn't have pigs at the time, so it makes sense to just get rid of them. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man. I mean, yeah. I'm trying to think of a personal parent recording.
I think I know one.
Where is it?
Remember when we used to travel to Ghana all the time?
Yeah.
We always used to have, every time we used to travel to Ghana, we used to pack the bags. We used to cover it with something.
Yeah.
We'd pack the suitcase, and then once it's packed and full and we've weighed it, we'd cover it with like a towel or something. And I think it was 2 years ago when we were going on holiday to Venice or somewhere, and you asked me, you were like, "Wait, why do we do this again? Why do you always cover the clothes with a towel? What's the?" So I guess that was an archaic coding that we never analyzed.
Yeah.
So I think you rang mum to ask her why we cover.
Yeah.
And she gave a reason. I can't remember what the reason was for again.
Right.
But
I can't remember either. But
yeah.
But
yeah. I don't think it's something we do now. Anyways.
No. I mean, there's a bunch of recordings.
There's so many, right?
I'm trying to think. I can't think of one, man.
No. There are a bunch of recordings, but like you said, you probably won't be consciously aware of them until. By the way, I found the quote, the one at the start of the chapter.
Okay.
And the quote is, "The passion for truth is silenced by answers which have the weight of undisputed authority."
Yeah. The passion for truth.
Yeah.
Is silenced by
answers which have the weight of undisputed authority.
Is there anything else you want to discuss? I mean, what's your general sort of opinion about this?
So I think as far as theories go, I think it's a very fun way and a very exciting way because it's so new, of looking at things. It's so fresh, and it's a theory of change and how, even though you have these past recordings stored, using your adult, you can always analyze these things and you can always change as a person. Because there are people who always say, I'm not this or I'm not that, or I'll never be this or I'll never be that. And a lot of the time it's parent recordings that have been stored. Parent recordings that have been stored. But I guess through this theory, it really does make it possible for you to change who you are, or for you to change for the better.
Yeah.
Like the woman who bought the garbage disposal unit. But yeah, what about yourself? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's great, and I think it's important to. For me, it goes back to that sort of like interaction with one another. You can understand at times when someone is communicating with you through their parent.
Yeah.
So it's, another person could be, very sort of like, bossy and be telling you to do stuff that they haven't actually appraised within their own head. So just do it, man. Just do this.
Just do it. Like,
but like,
why?
Then you're asking like, well,
Yeah.
you're asking them like, why should I do this? And they haven't actually got any answers as to why they're asking you to do a particular thing.
Yeah.
Just do it because my mom used to tell me to do it, so you do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's
Or,
like, what the fuck?
do you know what I mean? So I think that's that parent recording, and I guess with an understanding of this, you can kind of like know where someone is coming from and know how to actually deal with that particular individual. And for me, this is why this is very important and very essential. However, it's not all smooth sailing.
Not
I think there are some defects.
Yeah.
Potentially that could be affected by the adult and the parent, and I think we're gonna come on to talk about that at some point.
Definitely, I think the next episode will go into it. It's very interesting. It talks about I think we should end up with the four stages,
life positions,
the 4 life positions that come as a result of those recordings and how you were treated as a child. So I'll say the 4, and then maybe you can like give a quick summary on each one.
Should we?
If you remember,
we should do it on the next episode, or John?
We'll just like say it, just like kind of like at the end of this, just to,
sure.
take them into the next one. So there's, as a result of your upbringing, there's 4 life positions. They are I'm not okay. I'm not okay. You're okay.
Yeah.
I'm not okay. You're not okay. I'm okay. You're not okay. And I'm okay. You're okay.
Yeah, of course. And I think these life positions are basically determined by your upbringing as a child. And I think most babies, according to the book, have a position of, I guess, I'm not okay, you're okay. So want to try and sort of like, I guess, get some kind of reassurance and stability. But then as we grow up, we move into different stages and different life positions, and there's loads of different factors. I mean, what affects those positions is multifactorial. I guess we're gonna have a discussion about what actually affects those different positions, and so we're gonna talk about those four life positions, and how they come about in the next episode. So yeah.
Stay tuned. And also, briefly before we go, so basically the 4 life positions that you end in are dependent on, the 3 out of 4 are dependent on how much the presence or the absence of stroking. So make that of it as you will. How much a child is stroked. In those years. So it's interesting actually.
So I guess we can go on to talk about relationships.
Definitely. And our desire for stroking or not stroking.
Yeah, I guess the girl them, the man them, the girl them that are here on the streets, the man them are here on the streets. I guess this can be applied to a range of things, but let's not forget cultural sensitivity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, that's on the next episode.
So thanks for listening, and catch you in the next one.
Thank you.